Hey, I'm Joy Diggs, dietitian, personal trainer, and owner of Dig Deep Fitness and Nutrition. And this week I'm launching a series on belly fat. I've asked you all a lot of questions. I got a lot of feedback and comments about belly fat, which a lot of people are trying to get rid of. And so I decided to break this into 4 or 5 parts so that we can really break down how is fat created, why is it so dangerous, how does it develop in your belly, why do some people gain more fat than others, and finally, how do we get rid of it? So make sure you tune in each day because each video is going to build on the last. All right, so let's first talk about fat and how it's even created. And it's about to get a little sciencey, so bear with me. We're going to get through this and it all start to make sense. So every day your body needs a certain amount of energy to perform its functions. That's breathing, that's walking, that's thinking, that's breaking down your food, that's making hormones and enzymes. All of this stuff takes energy, and we get this energy from food. So the measure of energy is called calories. So calories is just a word for a measure of energy, right? So apple, let's say, has 95 calories. That's 95 units of energy that your body is going to use for its everyday functions. Now, like I said, we all need a certain amount of calories, energy, every day. That number is going to vary depending on the person, their height, their weight, how much activity they have, how old they are, how much muscle they have. The number is going to vary for everybody. And so when you eat energy, your body is going to use that energy for those functions. But what happens is when you overeat, your body starts to store that extra energy as fat. Think about it like a credit card, right? You have a limit. You have a certain amount of money that you can spend. You have a certain amount of money in your bank that you can pay for the amount that you spend. But then once you can't pay that balance off, you start to have what's called debt. Now you're trying to repay the debt little by little as you can so that you can get back to that zero balance. Same thing with your body. When you're overeating, you have a debt that needs to be repaid. And so when you're trying to lose weight, you're making small payments over time to get rid of the weight. Make sense? And so you start to store fat. Now, a lot of times people think that you only gain fat from the fats that you eat in your food, but actually anything extra that you eat, whether it be protein, carbs, or fat, any of those can be stored as fat in your body. So your body can store extra carbs, protein, and fat as fat in your body. Now, protein typically is not stored as fat because your body is always using protein, like I said, to make enzymes, to make hormones, to maintain your muscle. So most of the protein that you eat is actually either used or it's excreted when you go to the bathroom. But carbohydrates and fat can both be stored when they're eaten in excess quantity. That fat can either be deposited under your skin, which is called subcutaneous fat, or it can be stored around your organs, which is called visceral fat, and that's the most dangerous. Now, this is really interesting. The number of fat cells that you have as an adult pretty much stays consistent, and that number was actually set back in late childhood, early adolescence. So that's one reason why if you're obese as a child, it's kind of dangerous, even more so, because you've increased the number of fat cells that you have, and then you're going to have the number of fat cells pretty much for the rest of your life. So you have about the same amount of fat cells your whole life. Your body is also breaking those down and building those up throughout your life cycle. And so when you gain weight, what happens is those cells either increase in size, and they have unlimited capacity for growth, and they can also increase in number. But the problem is the number of fat cells really never decreases. So as you gain weight and your fat cells are expanding and increasing in number, that's why it makes it even harder for you to lose weight over time if you've already been overweight, because you still have that same number of fat cells. So when you decrease your food intake and you start to lose weight, those fat cells will start to decrease in size, but the number will be about the same as it was when you were overweight, because it's just the same cells that remain in your body because they don't decrease, but they will reduce in size. So let's talk about the different types of fat and why one of them is way more dangerous than the other. So as I said before, you have subcutaneous fat, which is the fat that's deposited right underneath your skin. It's the kind that you can pinch. It's also around your hips and your thighs. And then there's visceral fat, which is around your organs, and that's internal. You can't pinch that, you can't see it, and most things can't measure it like you can for like your body fat percentage, which a lot of times is only going to tell you what's on top of your muscle. So the reason why visceral fat is so dangerous is because it's right up in here with all the good stuff, right? So these are all our organs that help our body to function and stay healthy. So we have our heart, we have our liver, we have our pancreas, we have our small and large intestines. All of this is used to digest your food and to keep your body healthy and functioning properly, right? So when you have a large amount of visceral fat covering your organs, it creates a toxic work environment. Like, how are your organs supposed to work the way they're supposed to work when there's all this fat that's covering them up? And so we like to think about fat as just kind of, hanging out and affecting our appearance, but actually fat is very active. It's not dormant. It's releasing chemicals, it's making hormones, it's affecting your body and making it more inflamed. And when your body is more inflamed, it puts your body more at risk for developing chronic diseases. So now you're more at risk for the diabetes, the insulin resistance, the altered cholesterol levels, high blood pressure, lung disorders and diseases, breathing problems, heart disease. All of that comes from carrying a large amount of visceral fat. Now, the recommendation for your waist circumference is for women to be below 35 inches and for men to be below 40 inches. Once you're above those numbers, you have what's called abdominal obesity. Now, if you're below those numbers, but you're still holding a large amount of fat, you know that you're increasing your risk as your stomach expands, right? And so that's why we're here. We want to decrease belly fat so that we can decrease our risk for developing these diseases. So make sure you tune in tomorrow when we talk more about belly fat and start to get really into it. Like, why is so much fat stored in our stomach in the first place? What affects how much fat some people store than others, right? Some people just store fat quicker and easier than other people. We all know the people who can eat pizza, sweets, carbs, whatever, and seem to never gain weight. But then others may have like a little small piece of something, and then now their stomach seems like it's expanding. So we'll get more into details about that. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. And if you haven't already, click the like button, hit subscribe, share this with a friend, tag somebody, let them know. And make sure you're here tomorrow, y'all. Make it a great day. Keep digging deep.